Mr. Ding Chibiao. He will brief us on the National Mid- and Long-Term Program for Space Science Development in China from 2024 to 2025, and he will also take our questions. With us today, we also have the Systemic Department from the CNSA, and also we have a deputy from the China Manned Space Agency, Mr. Ding Chibiao. We also have the academician of the Chinese Academy of Science, Zhong Junqiang, academician from the Chinese Academy of Science, Mr. Wang Chi. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Ding Chibiao for introduction. Friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great pleasure to attend today's press conference. And today, the Chinese Academy of Science, the China National Space Administration, together with the China Manned Space Agency, will release the outline and the plan for national mid- and long-term program for the space science development in China. So as you all know that in recent years, we have made a great achievement in the aerospace, and also we enter into a new stage for the innovation development. So we will continue to exercise the guideline from the General Secretary Xi Jinping to develop the aerospace sector. According to the deployment, the CAS has drafted a mid- and long-term outline and the plan for the space science development in China. This will continue to become a guideline to continue our development of the space science in China. So I would like to give you some of the briefing of this outline. We will focus on the 4 areas and focus on the coordination and the open and the cooperation. So for this plan, it has gathered wisdom from the China aerospace sectors, and also we are collecting suggestions and insights from the Chinese Academy of Science and also the high-level institutions. So in the past 2 years, we have absorbed a lot of the suggestions, and also we have drafted the first mid- and long-term program for the space science development. Now I would like to give you an update of this plan. So for this plan, we have set up the goal for the development of the space science. So we will do a lot of verification of the space missions, and also we will coordinate some of the basic research to push for the high-quality development for the space science development. And we will also cultivate a number of talents and to do a lot of basic research and to deliver the original discoveries to make sure that we can turn China into a major nation in aerospace. And the second, we will also focus on the 5 things for potential technical breakthroughs in China. And also we emphasize 70 priorities. And also we will focus on the discussion of the origin and evolution of the universe. So under this section, we will focus on the dark matter particle exploration and also the exploration of the origin of the universe. And the second, we will focus on the spatial discovery. And also we will unveil the mystery and the relations between the gravity and the universe. Third, we will focus on the solar and the Earth relation, and also to unveil the complexity and the structures between the solar system and the solar structure. So under this section, we will focus on the Earth circulation and also the weather forecast and also the weather discovery in the outer space. Fourth, we will focus on the astronaut. So we will focus on the major astronaut, and also we will try our best to find out the extraterrestrial life. So we will focus on the sustainable development, and also we have to look into the history of the origin and also the history of the solar system. Fifth, we will focus on the space matter movement. We will also find out the pattern for the movement, and we will focus on the quantum physics and to discover more aspects for the quantum communications. And we will also focus on the microgravities and also the theory of the relativity. And also, we have laid out key tasks and the roadmap from 2024 to 2050. The first stage is from 2024 to 2027, so we will continue our efforts for the lunar exploration. And also we will continue our work in the planetary exploration. And we will set up 5 to 8 major missions for the exploration so as to form the original discovery from China. And the second stage is from 2028 to 2035. We will continue our efforts in the manned space mission and also to improve our China space station. In the third stage is from 2036 to 2050, and we will conduct over 30 missions, make sure that we can achieve in the leading position in the aerospace. So in the end, we will continue to follow the leadership of the CPC Central Committee and also to take a holistic approach. To conduct our work, we have to ensure we have sufficient financial resources and deepen our cooperation with the international agencies, and make our best to make new contribution for the aerospace sector, so we can make China into a major power in the aerospace. So now we would like to take your questions. Thank you. Now the floor is open for questions. With Hongxin News, my question is, so this year we have successfully completed a number of missions. For example, we have launched many successful science satellites such as the Mozi and InSight. So I would like to understand some of the scientific discoveries and also the achievements from the launch of the science satellites. So I would like to turn to Mr. Wang Shi to answer your question. Thank you for your question. You have raised a very technical question. I believe it has drawn public attention. With 60 years of development and the progress, so for the space science has developed from scratch. And also we have made a number of achievements and the progress. At the beginning of this century, we have launched the first science satellite. And also these satellites include Wukong Mozi. And these satellites also represents the Chinese capability. And also we have done a lot of research for our manned spacecraft mission. And also we have made a lot of breakthroughs in the lunar exploration as well as the planetary exploration. As the mission progresses, this will also help us to reach to a new stage for China's development of the space science. And also, we set up the discipline of the space science in China. We also built a number of key laboratories. And also, we have laid out a general plan for the future development for the space science and enhance our capability. And also, we have formed a professional team to help us with the research. So right now, we could see we have gained a number of achievements in different aspects. For example, for Wukong satellite, it has focused on the dark matter particle exploration. And also for the InSight, and this is also a very important one to conduct the X-ray timing and perimetry observation. And also we have kicked off our Mars exploration. And we also established the very first science satellite and the space science laboratory, and this will help us to better understand the dark matter particle exploration, and also we can better understand the solar spectral image, and also the situation of the electromagnetic fields, and to better understand the overall geomagnetic field. And we also made a number of the scientific achievements in the above-mentioned aspects. And this will help us to gain a better understanding of the universe. This will also show that China has become a leading role in the discovery of the universe. However, if we continue to some of the major countries, we still have very few science satellites. We're still at the starting stage to discover the space science, but we have the confidence to catch up with the other countries. Based on the current achievements, we will continue to forge ahead and to implement our three-step strategy. So that is by 2027 that we will become the first layer of the aerospace sector, and by 2050, we want to make sure that we want to become a major nation in aerospace in the world. Thank you. Next question, please. With Phoenix TV, my question is about the deep sea exploration, especially for the lunar exploration and the planetary exploration. So my question is, in the upcoming years, any deployments for these two aspects? So I would like to turn to Mr. Liang Xiaoyu to answer your questions. As for the lunar exploration, going forward, we will continue to launch the Chang'e 7 and the Chang'e 8. For the Chang'e 7 lunar probe, it will perform the Moon's polar regions. And for the Chang'e 8, we will continue to build an international research station together with other countries. And also, we will conduct a number of the technical verification and do a number of the R&D on the key technologies. So we will continue to analyze the structure of the moon, and we will continue to work with the other entities and organizations to build an international research station on the moon. And this will also cover different disciplines. And as for the planetary exploration, we will launch the Tianwen 2 and Tianwen 3 and 4. So for the Tianwen 2, it will also collect the samples from the asteroid, and also we will collect samples and return from the asteroid. And this will also help us to analyze the situation of the asteroid. So also for the Tianwen 3, we will collect the samples from the Mars. So for the Tianwen 4, we also do some analysis for the Jupiter. And also we will continue to analyze the structure inside of the Jupiter. Next question, please. So my question is, pay a lot of attention about the space science for its impact for the economic development. So how to continue to commercialize the achievements obtained from the space science? I would like to turn to academician Mr. Zhu Junqiang to answer your question. Thank you for your question. For the space science, we will help us to better understand the universe, especially to discover the unknown elements and the unknown areas. For example, we will have a better understanding of the sensors and also the high technologies. So for all of these technologies will help us to advance the development of the aerospace sector. So in the outer space, it is in the microgravity environment, and this will also have some of the impact of the elements that we use on Earth. And this will also help us to bring forth to some new technologies, and it is possible to promote the productivity. So how to make good use of some of these achievements and serve the public? So first, we have to continue our coordination between the different disciplines. For example, we will further analyze and do the research of the achievements, and we need cooperation with the universities and institutions to see whether we can commercialize some of these achievements in different sectors of the public. And third, we need the support from the government. For example, we need to gather more funds and resources from the society so as to promote the commercialization of the achievement from the space science. And we will continue to educate the public about the knowledge of the space science so we can attract more investors and enterprises to make investments and so that they can learn better about these achievements. And we need to also pay attention to the IPR to build a good business environment. So all in all, it depends on the cooperation between the agencies, the science-tech agencies, research agencies, the government, as well as the enterprises. Thank you. Next question, please. It's 21st century. So for the Chang'e 6, we have already continued to discover some of the samples. So my question is, any progress for the research of the sampling that has been brought by the Chang'e 5 and Chang'e 6? So on June the 25th, the Chang'e 6 has collected 1,935.3 grams of the samples from the far side of the moon. And also it is the first time for the human beings to recover the samples from the far side. And right now we are continuing our work for the analysis of the samples. And also we find a lot of the information. For example, we gain a better understanding of the rock movement of the far side of the moon. So, for example, we need to understand the substrate that have been collected from the far side of the moon. And going next, we will continue to do more research about the soil. And so for the Chang'e 5, start from 2020, the Chang'e 5 also collected over 1,700 grams of the lunar soil. In the past few years, the CNSA has distributed 80 grants to different institutions and research centers for analysis. And the scientists also have done a lot of work for the research, and also they publish over 100 theses on the studying of the lunar soil. We also find a lot of interesting findings. For example, we are finding the history of the lunar soil. And according to the latest discovery, so for the Earth, we could see that the volcano already have some of the movements. And also we are seeing that for the aging of the moon, it's not as what we expected. So we analyzed the craters and for the landing site for the lunar probe, both for the Chang'e 5 and the Chang'e 6. And also we found the exact composition of the lunar soil that has been collected by the Chang'e 5. And also we find that for the lunar soil is much drier compared to the previous discoveries. So this also shows that we obtain new discoveries because we found different compositions. And also, we are seeing some of the lunar magnetic activities happened on the lunar surface. And also, we are identifying the 6 new elements that has been discovered from the lunar soil. Thank you. Next question, please. With CMG. So for China, we have always taken unlimited efforts to explore the outer space. So today, I believe the press conference today is very important. Can you tell us more about the significance to build China into a major nation in the aerospace and science and technology? I would like to take your question. I would like to emphasize 3 areas as for the significance. First, for the space science, it is a very important part for our aerospace missions. As we all know that for the space activities, it could cover different aspects, for example, the space science, the space application, and also the space technology. So for these 3 areas, it has been coordinated closely. And for the space science, it is the fundamental. And this will help us to unveil the mystery in the universe and also help the human beings to raise their understanding of the space. And this will also help us to promote and advance the space science and technology. I would like to use 2 examples. So first, I would like to mention the imaging effects. And because we have collected and used a number of high technologies to form this imaging satellite. So we all know that in early 90s, we have some of the high-tech telescope, and also in the following years, we also launched the imaging satellite to gain a better imaging of some of the situation of the space. And also, we are using a lot of the navigation system to improve the accuracy of the navigation. And the second, for the study of the space science in China, we're still at a starting stage. So we have to fill the weak links in the development of the space science so as to build China into a strong nation in the aerospace. So since the 18th Party Congress, we have continued to make breakthroughs in the aerospace. So we have worked to coordinate the development between the space science, technology, and applications. So we could see we have launched a number of the satellites, and also we launched some of the science satellites into the space to gain more discoveries. But still, we have fewer satellites in the space. That's why we don't have a great number of achievements, especially compared to those developed nations. And third, we will continue to follow the guidance of the national mid- and long-term programs for the space science development. So from the 60s of the last century, you could see for some of the major power, they have already drafted the program for the space science development. But for China, it is our first time to release the mid- and long-term program for space science, and this will become the basis for China to continue to advance the space science development. And this will also help the research in China and also to strengthen our cooperation with international agencies and cooperation partners. And this will help us to gain more achievements in the aerospace sector and also to contribute our wisdom to the world. Thank you. Next question, please. With cover news. My question is, in the next 10 years, what are some of the missions for the manned spaceship program? So any specific arrangements from the CAS? I would like to turn to my colleague Lin Xixiang to answer your question. Thank you very much for your attention to the manned spacecraft mission in the next 10 years. For the China Space Station, we will benchmark our efforts with international standards. And we will also focus on the microgravity studies. And also we will focus on the new technologies in the world. And also we have emphasized the importance of the space astronomy, the lunar and the planetary science, the space Earth science, as well as the space physics. And we will look into these 4 areas to see whether we can gain new achievements. So, for example, I would like to especially mention the space astronomy. So, for example, we will launch the telescope in certain regions. And in some of the key areas, such as the Greater Bay Areas, we have already established 7 research centers and deployed 24 missions. So hopefully, we could gain some of the breakthroughs in terms of the solar spectrum images and also the black hole binary exploration. And of course, we will continue our efforts for the lunar and the planetary science. And this is a very important part of our aerospace mission. So for Chinese, once we step up on the surface of the moon, we will leverage our advantages. And our space station will offer a enabling environment for our astronauts to better facilitate with their missions. And also we will conduct a number of the scientific investigations and also the experiments on the moon. And we will focus on the 9 directions for the research. So right now, we are still at the planning stage. And we could see that right now it is very important for us to see the release of the mid- and the long-term program for the space science development in China. We will continue to focus on the key issues and also to continue to apply some of the plans into our manned spacecraft mission and also to make greater contribution for the high-quality development for the aerospace in China. Thank you. Next question, please. With Economic Daily, we all know that we have done a very successful investigation for the black hole binary exploration. So my question is, in what aspects that China can better form cooperation with international agencies? Any new measures taken by China? So now I'd like to turn to Mr. Wang Chi to answer your question. So thank you very much for your attention for the international cooperation in terms of the space science. So for the space science, it's a major platform for international cooperation because it will bring benefits to all the humanities in the world. Entering into the 21st century, we could see we have more cooperations in terms of the space science. For some of the milestone missions and the programs, we could see it involves a very high level of the international cooperation because with the cooperation, it could lower the risks for the exploration and also it could enhance the mutual understanding between the different nations and also the closer the ties between the different nations. And we will continue our efforts for the international cooperation. I would like to mention several aspects. So we will focus on specific missions and the programs. For example, for China and the ESA, so we will launch the SMILE mission. And this is an all-rounded cooperation between China and the European Space Agency. And also, you mentioned we have the binary satellite mission. So this we will also conduct some of the cooperation. And also we will make a lot of international cooperation in terms of the payload. So we will form complementarity and also form a transnational team to share our achievements and to form joint research. So this can help us to deliver more scientific achievements. So for example, for the Kwafu-1, the science satellite, and also the Einstein probe we launched earlier this year, we established international teams for joint research and discovery. And also, we take the lead in attending and participating in the international cooperation in terms of the aerospace discovery. For example, we also participate in the Advanced Space-Based Solar Observatory, and we will continue to strengthen the cooperation in different disciplines to make sure that we can share the achievements from the space science and bring more benefits to the human beings. With pragmatic and high-quality cooperation, it could help us to enhance our mutual understanding. We will continue to work with our international counterparts to unveil the mystery of the universe, and also we will make our own contribution in this regard. Next question, please. With Japan Economic Daily. So my question is still about the lunar exploration and also the building of the ISS, and any considerations for the international cooperation. So I would like to turn to my colleague Yang Xiaoyu to answer your question. Thank you for your question. So right now, the Lunar Science and Technology Research Center is in preparation. So while we are building this research center, we are also trying our best to implement and work on some of the programs at the same time. So first, we look at the infrastructure for the Lunar Research Center. We have to make sure that for this center can accommodate our needs for the discovery and also the research for some of our findings. And the second, we want to improve the functionalities of the research center to make sure that this can become a major platform and to help us to discover more resources on the moon. So right now we could see we have made a lot of achievements from the Lunar Research Center, and also we are seeing some of the international agencies has participating in this program. We have signed agreements with over 70 international partners. We would like to offer more opportunities for cooperation to our partners. For example, we will work on the technical verification, and also we will work on the infrastructure building in the Lunar Research Center. And also we will try to share some of the scientific data with our international counterpart. Thank you. Next question, please. With Xinhua News Agency. So from Shenzhou to Tiangong, and this year we could see we have made a lot of achievements. So still I would like to pay attention to the manned spaceship program. Can you tell us its role in advancing China's development in the aerospace sector? Thank you. I would like to turn to Mr. Lin Xijiang to answer your question. Thank you for your question. So for the manned spacecraft program, because we have astronauts participating in this mission, so I would say this is a unique program for us. For China's manned spacecraft program, I would say we have set up a very targeted scientific mission. So we build the aircraft, and with the ultimate goal of to build the Lunar Research Center and also the China Space Station. So when we say the aircraft, that is the Shenzhou aircraft, and in 2022, we have completed the Tiangong Space Station. So for the aircraft and the space station, for these two areas, this also in line with our engineering work and the construction work. And also we are focusing on some of the scientific aspects. With 30 years of efforts, so we have also achieved the construction goal and also the scientific goal, and meeting the requirement of our three-step national strategy, that is the orbiting, landing, and the return. So for the manned spacecraft program, right at the beginning, we have laid out a very solid plan, including 28 items. For these 28 items, it is always China's first attempt, and this will also play a key role for laying a solid foundation for China's development in the aerospace. And in the second stage, we also deployed 50 scientific experiments. We also gained a lot of achievements in terms of the space science, and this will also help China to become a leading role in the aerospace sector. And also in the Tiangong Space Station, we have 14 scientific cabinets. And also we have the payload platform. And also we have outer payload facilities to help us with the scientific research. And also with the Shenzhou aircraft, we also brought back a lot of achievements. So for example, we have done a lot of plantation work on the space, and this will help us to understand the ecosystem outside of the space. And the second, we also work successfully on our work for the Einstein probe, and also we established a very successful research platform. And this will also help us to gain a better understanding of the vast universe. So in general, with the development of the space science, this will lay a solid foundation for China to successfully complete the manned space program. In launching the manned space programs, and this will also offer a broader platform for us to exercise our efforts in the space science exploration. I would say for the manned space program has reinforced with the development of China's space science. Next question, please. Thank you. With SciTech paper. So tomorrow marks the 60th anniversary of the exploration of the atomic bombs. So my question is, what is the role for the CAS in promoting China's development in the aerospace? I would like to turn to my colleague Zhu Junqiang to answer your question. Thank you for your question. And I believe you pay a lot of attention to China's mission on the two Bongswan satellite. And in the 60 years ago, and actually we launched successfully the very first the atomic bomb. In the 60s, I believe you still remember that historic moment. So during the whole process, the Chinese Academy of Science, we have taken the role as the pioneer to guide the research of the two bombs and the one satellite. Right from the beginning, the CAS has closely related to the satellite discoveries. So when it comes to the manned spacecraft program, lunar exploration, even to the planetary exploration, the CAS has played a critical role in the development of the research on the space science. For example, for the manned space programs, so for the CAS is one of the key sectors. For example, we focus on the hardware. We have over 40 units under the CAS. We work with other institutes and agencies and conduct the scientific experiments. And also, we achieve a great number of outcomes. And for the lunar exploration and the planetary exploration, I would say for the CAS, we are the very first promoters and the practitioners in this regard. So we focus on the setting of the targets and the scientific goals. So we have over 30 scientific research centers. They have focused on the development of the payloads. And throughout the process, they also done a lot of work or the research on the lunar soil. Internationally, and for the CAS, it also play a key role for advancing the research on China's space science. And in the first, right at the beginning of the century, and also we are also working with the binary satellite mission, and this also helped the space science development in China to break the ground. In 2011, the Chinese Academy of Science also set up a special task force and special mission focusing on the space science. For example, we focus on the science satellite, including the Wukong, Mozi, Huiyan, and InSight. So for all of the launch of these science satellites, these are also thanks to the support of the Chinese Academy of Science. So for the Chinese Academy of Science, it has laid a solid foundation for the development for the China's space science. And today, the mid and the long-term program for space science development in China focus on a lot of aspects. For example, we are focusing on the origin and the evolution of the solar system. So with our research progressing, we will continue to unveil some of the unknown aspects in the universe, and also this will also bring the progress and the advancement for China's development on the space science. So we are trying our best to make our contribution to build China into a strong nation in aerospace. One last question, please. Thank you. With Reuters, I have two questions. First, China has always helped the developing countries to build infrastructures. So recently, the U.S. officials, they said that for these infrastructures and these missions will pose threats to other countries. So my question is that true? So whether it will harm the interests of other nations in terms of building some of the space stations. And also for China has providing a lot of fund to the African countries. So what are the strategic purposes from the Chinese side? So for these two questions, I would like to turn to Mr. Yang Xiaoyu to answer your question. Thank you for your question. So from the media side, you have gave us a lot of insights from the U.S. For example, you share some of the insights from the media on China's contribution to the developing countries. Even though this is not quite related to the topic today, but I would like to give you a brief answer. Well, it is very difficult to think from other people's perspective. So I want to clarify that without authorization, China will not take advantage of the international cooperation and conduct the activities that has mentioned by the US side. We have worked with many countries, including developing as well as the developed countries. So, for example, we work closely with Brazil on the joint laboratory for space weather, and also we work with France successfully on the deep space exploration. So when we are working with other countries, we also draft contracts and detail all the information. For example, for all the agreements, it will detail whether we will share the information with each other. And also, under the framework of BRICS and also the Meteorological Bureau in the world, so we will detail the list on how to share the information with other countries. So for China, we stay committed to pursue a peaceful cooperation and peaceful progress. And also, we will conduct the international cooperation on the basis of the equality and mutual benefits to make sure that for all of these achievements can bring benefits to the globe. As for your second question, you mentioned that China offer fund and subsidies to the developing countries. You asked about the strategic purposes for China. For China, actually, we are the largest developing country, and actually we could feel how they felt. As for the space science and also the space science and the technology, I would say it poses a lot of challenges for some of the developing countries. And also, it is the ultimate goal for the humanities to discover the outer space. And for Chinese government, we have attached great importance for the development of the space science. And also, we are working with others to build a community with shared future for mankind. We will try our best to support the other countries, especially developing countries, to enter into space. And also, we will support the UN framework on the development vision by 2030. We will work with the developing countries to enhance their capacity in the aerospace and help them to alleviate the disasters. And we will also help them to boost their economic development and achieve sustainable growth. Thank you. Due to the time limits, that's the end of the press conference. I believe you pay a lot of attention in the development of the space science, so please stay in touch. So that's the end of the press conference. Thank you, all the speakers. See you next time.